conversations that come to you as an afterthought. This is But Seriously, We Mean It.
We're just two curious people with lots to say about anything and everything.
No, but seriously, we mean it. This week we're talking about complacency. Where do you draw the line between being comfortable or reaching a level of comfort and being complacent? And I think it's very important for us to highlight these blurred lines, because someone else will argue, I'm not really complacent.
Yeah.
You can say I'm at my comfort zone. Where do we draw the line?
Can I ask a question? Is it wrong to be complacent?
I think
Is it wrong
Yes
to say I
and
don't
no.
aspire? I don't aspire to do. I really don't aspire to have a job. I don't aspire to be the richest in the room.
Hold up. I want us to get
The definition.
Yeah, I think let's do that first.
Okay.
Showing smug or uncritical satisfaction with oneself or one's achievement.
Okay.
Feeling so satisfied with your own abilities or situation that you feel you do not need to. Dictionary as a Cambridge, I think it puts it better. You do not need to try harder. Like you're satisfied with your own abilities or your situation such that you don't feel the need to try any harder. And the reason why I wanted us to go to a textbook definition is because so that it's clear for everyone what we mean by complacent. Because yet again, if I have everything that I've ever wanted,
Yeah.
I have achieved my goals. And I was asking earlier, am I complacent? According to that definition, yes, I am
being
complacent,
complacent.
because I am happy with the things that I have achieved, so I don't feel the need to try harder for anything more. Perhaps the question should be, is it wrong to be complacent?
That's my question, because I feel like there's so many people. I know a lot of people who are okay with where they are at. The external idea of how you should be and how successful you should be doesn't affect them in any way. So is it wrong for me to say, okay, cool, I've gotten my first paying job and I'm willing to stay there for 10 years?
I think it goes, I'm big on personality types, understanding the type of persona that you have and the things that fulfill you. And even when you look at the hierarchy of needs, which one matters to you the most? Are you just concerned with having the basics sorted, or do you go as far as tapping into your aspirations and seeing whether you are self-actualizing? Do you get what I mean? And I think that when we try to get a type A person to do a type C person type of, or to live their lives according to a type C person, that's what complicates it, because we don't aspire to achieve the same things. There's a song by Solo that says, I don't do this for the fame. And for someone else, they do it for the fame.
Yeah.
They don't do it for he doesn't do it for the likes. He doesn't do it for the fame. But for someone else, they do it for the fame. They do it for the likes. Are they wrong to do it for the likes?
No, absolutely.
Or the fame?
As for me, if you're doing it for the likes or the fame, that aspect of your life, it needs to be able to fulfill you. If you're saying you're doing it for the likes and the fame, are you happy with getting the likes and the fame? Because fame is not only just you're famous, people shout your name and that's that. It comes with a lot of things. are you able to deal with those things and be happy while you're at that? I was watching, for the 100th time, a documentary, Yaga Nina Simone. And there was a point where she felt like, this is not it. I am done being a superstar in America and whatnot. I want to live in Africa and just be happy. At that point, that was her aspiration. She wanted to be happy. There was a point where she wanted to be a superstar, and she achieved it. But it didn't fulfill her need to be happy. She was just over it. And I think it happens to a lot of people. You think you want something and you get it and you're like, actually, I'm not really happy. I'm not happy with the fame. I'm not happy with the marriage or whatever it is that you have always aspired to. And then you move on to say, actually, I want to live a carefree life in Egypt, which is not complacency. You're just like, I'm just putting myself first and I want to be happy.
Why do we impose our... Okay, my question is twofold. Firstly, why do we impose our beliefs and our expectations on people? Number one. Number two, you hear people saying, but they're so fine with doing bare minimum. So it's bare minimum to you, but is it bare minimum to them?
Someone else, yeah.
What do we do that to feel better about ourselves?
Yeah, sometimes we do. Sometimes we do because we also are being complacent. So if you feel like somebody is lacking, you want to project, I guess, because other people's aspirations are not the same as yours. So I think when we understand that line, that you don't need to, it's okay for somebody to say their aspiration is to be a wife and that's that. That's not her being complacent. That's somebody being aspirational. I've always aspired to be a wife.
Let's go back to the definition. Being happy with what you have, I'll use the word content, with what you have achieved, and therefore seeing no need to do anything more.
And that is being complacent.
So, in the context of the idea of example you just used of getting married and becoming a wife, I have achieved this thing, therefore I see no need to do more.
You will always need to do more as a wife. Am I not being
complacent? If I am content with being a wife, I no longer see the need to do more. I am happy because I have achieved what I wanted.
That's a tricky one.
You see what I mean?
That's a really tricky one. I just feel like as a wife, you are never really, your job is never done also.
But which job is done? Because
True.
for as long as you live
True.
your life, you continue to evolve. Things change, you adapt, you get frustrated, you go through, a range of emotions which can completely throw you off. You start from the bottom, you start over. But the point is, your objective was to become a wife. You became a wife. Therefore, you see no need to go beyond being a wife. Are you not being complacent?
You are. You completely are being complacent. But we did ask the question at the beginning, is it wrong?
No. I think, yet again, that's why I was saying, who's judging? Who's asking? Because if I, as the complacent person, am asking, is it wrong for me to be complacent? Obviously, my answer, if I'm fulfilled by my role as a wife, I am happy. I am okay with being complacent because I want nothing more. But if the same question is asked by someone else who has other dreams and other goals and who's anti-marriage and who does not see the big picture as a wife.
But you know how people are always saying you need to dream further. You you need to have bigger dreams than what. So if I've achieved the dream of being, let's say I've always wanted to be on television. I've achieved that dream. I need to have a better dream of owning my own production company. It always needs to, you can't just be like, oh, okay, I'm on TV. Okay, it's fine. It ends there. That's why it happens when people release songs and that's it. Like you become a one-hit wonder.
So there's no follow-up.
There's no follow-up.
So where does a follow-up and complacency, where do the two meet? So if I am complacent, if I'm complacent, then if we follow that a narrative, then complacency is not right. Because you're saying it can't just end here.
Sometimes I
to
think
go
people
beyond.
don't go beyond because it's like, what if I never achieve? Have you ever heard a song from an artist and you're like, I do not think they'll ever achieve this level of greatness? A song or an album?
Like that's the pinnacle of
That's the pinnacle. Whichever thing that they release after that will never top that.
Okay. Yeah. But yes, I do have artists who I was like, or maybe, yeah, I do have those albums where I was like, yeah, no fun.
So what happens if they never release after that? Are they being complacent or are they being truthful?
No, but they release. They've never stopped releasing Aban Bachoyo mna. The ones that I'm talking about, they continue to release.
So they're
But
not being complacent.
Yeah, they're not being complacent because, and it's back to the definition, such that you see no need to go on and try harder. So they did not feel like they achieved because they went on and tried harder. Where complacency comes in is where you stop trying. That's where I'm going to highlight the keywords. Where you stop trying harder, that's when you're complacent.
I want to know what leads people to being complacent. Because I know a lot of people always say when you've been in a marriage for too long, or when you've been in a relationship for too long, you end up being like, okay, I can just wake up and wear an ANC t-shirt. Does being tired lead to you being complacent?
I think sometimes toxic spaces can lead to complacency. But back to the definition.
But what if my husband is not toxic?
Okay.
I'm just tired from parenting my kid and being a wife. So I'm going to wear an ANC t-shirt.
So wait, exhaustion leading to complacency.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make, the connection. Wait, hold up. You're happy here in this marriage, in this home. You're raising your kids. You're just tired, so you're complacent. I have to. You're happy.
Yes.
You're happy.
I don't know.
It rarely ever happens where
You
rarely
become complacent.
Yes, rarely, because if you're happy and exhausted, you will try harder.
Yeah.
Because remember, for me, complacency is when you stop trying. If you, most of the time, complacency, if it's not just about being content as a human being, and if it's drawn from the negative side of, or the source is negative, it's usually not paired up with joy, so you stop trying. And that's when it makes sense, because you're just like, because then now in my mind, I'm trying to imagine a wife who loves the kids, is just tired, but they're just like, she's happy, but she's just like, hi, guys.
But you know the narrative. You know the narrative.
I'm so tired.
But you know the narrative of Wuti. Once somebody gets into a marriage, they just become
comfortable.
They become comfortable, which is what you spoke about, complacency
Yes.
versus comfortability.
Yes. Because complacency does not necessarily mean comfort. Yes, it's a part of it. So you get comfortable before you get complacent. How I understand it. You get comfortable before you get complacent. And then when you stop trying,
You're being complacent.
you're complacent.
Okay. I think I was mixing the two up because I've always felt like, okay, you're being complacent because you're just tired of everything and you're comfortable with being a wife, but then you're like,
Also tired how? Tired exhaustion or tired
Exhaustion.
fed up? Because those are two different things. If you fed up tired, like a hayi kudala ndisenza yonke lento ndedwa so born, that's drawn from a negative source. But if you exhausted tired, like how can we, I'm tired, how can we work around the kids and me now ukhona apha endlini and us having to manage everything? How can we make it better? You're trying there, so you're not complacent because you're putting in an effort to make things better. Where you cut the tie and say, I'm no longer going to try harder.
I think I just had a different definition of complacency. You just taught me something there. Because I've always felt like comfort and complacency come together. They come hand in hand.
Oftentimes they do, because you rarely ever get to a point where you're over something before you get comfortable. Can I make an example of a new job? At a new job, you're on your toes all the time. And then when you get comfortable, you are easy with the way things happen. You know where they keep your favorite mug. You know how the old broom sweeps and how the new broom sweeps, you know. But when you're complacent, there is no care. You're comfortable. You've surpassed the comfort stage. You've gotten comfortable to the point where you exceeded a stage of comfort. Now you're just there. You just don't care. You're not trying.
What gives birth to complacency most of the time?
It's a lot of things, I think. Sometimes it's not lack of, I don't know if, maybe let's term it self-ambition or ambition, or the desire to grow self. There is no desire to, there's no sense of direction. When you don't have a sense of direction, sometimes you find yourself complacent, because anywhere the wind blows, now you're swept, no direction lay. So there's nothing that you stand for. You're not striving, you're not pushing for anything. Life is just happening to you. You're rolling with the punches. Lack of direction is a big thing when it comes to complacency. The people who ask you plastic, who never care to even look you in the eye, yes, to notice you. Half the time you'll find that they don't have a plan. When you don't have a plan, you're going to just roll with it. And then uphelele sowungakhathali.
And it reflects on your job.
It reflects on your job.
On everything that you do.
It reflects on the way you carry yourself, the way you it's just it's just routine for you. You don't care, because there's no sense of direction. There's no desire to become better, because you're not chasing anything. So yeah, but just okay, masambeni sharp ndikhona. You're not chasing anything. And secondly, when you are exhausted, fed up, nayo, where you feel like you're not being seen.
Yeah. And that
in a
relationship,
that happens. Where you're like, I've been trying. I'm not gonna try any harder. Your scar's born. They're not putting enough effort, Kanti. It's because I'm tired.
And I'm not being seen. I'm not being recognized.
Yes. Yes. There's so many things. Sometimes it's internal, and other times it's external. the source can either be internal or external. But there's always a reason behind someone being complacent. Think about it. Maybe there's a moment where you're like, yo, am I being complacent or colors or took? Because you're like, why does it seem like I'm not trying harder? Why does it feel like I'm not putting in effort anymore like I used to? Others will even say, I used to be so driven.
Or I remember there was a point, I think about 2 years ago, when I reflected back to myself. You know how people say sometimes you need to come back to yourself? I reflected back to myself and how I was always, everything that had to be done, like I was always involved in everything. If debate, I'm going to be in the forefront, whatever. And then I reached a certain point where I felt like I don't think I'm ever going to be good in any of these things. So let me just go with the flow. And when you realize that you're going with the flow, it kills your flow. Because you're like, where am I going? But also, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Why? How is it serving me? And then you realize that you're being complacent, which makes you even more nervous about the future. Because how do I turn from this to being extremely driven again?
It's direction. I promise you it's direction. Half of it stems from knowing what you're chasing. There is nothing that's empowering and fulfilling than having a clear vision. A clear vision is the compass. It doesn't matter what detour you take, or if you get tired along the way and you just feel like I need to sit down a bit, as long as the vision is clear, none of it makes you feel like you're complacent. Even that break where you're like, I've been dipping my hands in everything, time out. The time out doesn't feel like complacency because the vision is clear. And this is, I'm not saying this is the truth for everyone, but half the time you will find that if you are struggling with complacency and balancing out your vision and your goals and everything that you've wanted to achieve and reflecting and coming back to self, you'll notice that along the way, your vision wasn't clear. Yeah. You didn't know what you were doing. Yeah. You were confused. You were just winging it. And when you wing it, especially without a clear goal, it becomes very difficult.
That's it for this week. Catch us next time on But Seriously We Mean It, when we have conversations that come to you as an afterthought.